Dozer, can you confirm or deny you are testing the 04? I can confirm that I am not testing the 04. I do not have an 04. If I had an 04, I wouldn't say that. I would just keep my mouth shut, right? So you know for a fact that I'm not under an NDA. And the fact that I'm going to now speculate about rumors also tells you that I'm not under an NDA, right? So this is all speculation, but it's based on the stuff that we saw from Mads Tech. Blunty, can we find the post on my Discord? Or I'll just go to Mads Tech's page. And I think I should be able to find it in his community posts, I'm guessing.
Pat is upset that you don't have it. But I don't know that any of the KOLs have it yet. I could be wrong.
Yeah. You know. Well, I didn't participate in the, what was the little tiny one? The Neo? No, I didn't participate in the Neo launch. I was invited to participate in the Neo launch. I kind of had an idea of what the rumors said the release was going to be, and I didn't think it sounded like something I wanted to cover right then and there. Like, not that the Neo isn't an interesting product, it is a little too far removed from FPV. Like, the Avata is just barely overlapping with the world of FPV because you can fly it in manual mode, etc. But the Neo, like, it's cool, but it just, at that time, I didn't feel like doing a review of it. And so I said, no, thank you. And I don't know if that, I don't know. But I didn't get the 04. So I don't know if anybody got the 04. Here's what the rumors are. Mads Tech, we feel like these are pretty solid rumors. And has knocked my socks off. So, the DJI 04 Pro, 60 megabits per second, 1080p. Okay, that's consistent with the Avata 2. No surprise there. 50 megabits per second on the G2 and Integra. Very clever. So we have backwards compatibility with the G2 and the Integra, but you're going to get only 50 megabits per second, not 60. So, it's still pretty good. But, wouldn't you like to upgrade and get that 60? Very smart, DJI. 130 megabit per second DVR with D-Log M. 130 megabit per second is a very generous bit rate for 1080p. With D-Log M, how good the log footage will be, it's probably not true log footage, but it's a Cine-like log D, whatever. Probably better than the standard footage if you do, the standard color grade if you intend to do manual grading. So very nice. 1/1.3 camera at f2.0, so a larger sensor. Doesn't necessarily mean better, but usually that means better low light sensitivity. And frankly, we've seen it in the Avata 2. It's probably it's almost certainly the same as the Avata 2. So, better low light performance. 33 dBm max RF output. Now, bear in mind that this is from the antenna, almost certainly, not from the radio. And this is how Walksnail and DJI, I don't know about HD0, but this is how Walksnail and DJI spec their output power. It's from the antenna. So you have typically 2 to 3 dB of antenna gain. So your actual output from the radio is about half the number that you see here if you're comparing to an analog VTX. But it's not really meaningful to compare the output power of a digital to an analog VTX because the effect that they have on range and the range they can get from a certain amount of output power is so different. Nevertheless, 33 dBm, that's higher, I'm pretty sure, than anything we've seen before. Maybe that's why you get better range from the 04. Latency as low as 15 milliseconds when used with Goggles 3 in race mode. Holy crap! This was the first time when I went, oh, DJI. Oh, I remember why DJI is like, did you forget about me? Did you think that I was going to go quietly in the night? The king is back, right? Race mode, shut up! We're DJI, we don't give a crap. Yeah, here you go. Latency? What do you need? What do you care about latency for? There, you bunch of whiners. Oh, fine. Here's 15 millisecond race mode. It doesn't even say what the resolution is there. So I'm curious, because when Walksnail released a low latency race mode, they went down to 540p. That's how they got the ultra low latency, by going to a low resolution. And Walksnail race mode 540p, it doesn't look great. I mean, you get maybe 19 milliseconds of latency. I don't even think you get as low as 15 milliseconds with Walksnail. And now keep in mind, this is 100%. This is not fixed latency. Number one, because the way that DJI modulation, encoding, etc., the whole video system is not based around fixed latency. That's the thing that HD0 has that they don't. Okay, but number two, they say as low as 15 milliseconds. So you're going to have 15 millisecond latency when you're sitting right next to yourself, and then you're going to take off. You're going to fly away. The latency is going to go up. Nevertheless, presumably, like normally you see, say, 35 to 50 milliseconds of latency, right? And now you're going to see, say, 15 to 25 milliseconds latency. That's better. Okay? Unless you have the G2 and the Integra, in which case 30 millisecond latency. Oh, again, just a little bit of an incentive to go with the G3. Now, the big question that's outstanding, we don't know the answer, is, did they also fix the channels? Did they fix the output power? When you're in race mode, does it still up and increase and decrease the output power and screw up the timing system thresholds? Do their channels still just barely not overlap with the standard race channels and screw with the timing system? Because if so, then they missed the boat. And that is exactly the kind of boat missing that DJI would do. They would release this race mode feature that makes everybody go, oh, DJI finally gave me what I wanted. They finally gave this. Oh, they were listening this whole time. I lost faith. DJI, please forgive me. And then you'd get it, and it would be like, oh, yeah, 15 millisecond. Good for you. But the channels are effed up, and it still doesn't work with the timing systems. That's exactly what they would do. I mean, maybe they'll get it right. But that kind of thing where you think they did exactly what you've been wishing they would do, and then it turns out they kind of did it, but they kind of didn't. That's a very DJI thing to do. So we don't know about that yet.
I think it's important to consider that it's the same feature as Walksnail. Like, they named it that for a reason. Like, I don't expect them to be thinking about the feature in any way other than let's do the same thing Walksnail did.
Well, in that case,
right?
They will have gotten the race band channels correct. Because Walksnail did.
Right. But I mean, like, as far as there's no fixed latency, there's no change in RF output.
No.
It's not going to be easy timeable. You know what I mean? Like, it's not actually aimed at racing. It's aimed at calling it a race mode to compete with Walksnail.
Well,
That's what I think.
I mean, yes, I agree. Walksnail should get credit for doing... Walksnail made their channels line up correctly. I don't know what they did with their output power, but their output power has never been the same as DJI exactly. So... I feel like Walksnail actually made a sincere and good faith effort to create a usable race mode, whereas I think you're saying DJI is more likely to have just wanted to tick the marketing box and maybe have missed some of the nuance.
But Walksnail's racing mode didn't make anybody start flying Walksnail, didn't make any of the heats usable, didn't make the drones usable next to other people, didn't make the, you know what I mean? It didn't make the VTXs change the output power.
They didn't fix all the problems.
All the same issues.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, like, it's going to be the same thing. DJI is not like aiming to make a good race mode. Walksnail might have been doing that or not, but they're going to take whatever Walksnail did and then just copy it or make it a little better to like the feature set. Like, hey, we're a little faster, or we're not going to like fix the things you actually need. Like you said, it's DJI, right? They're hitting numbers. So
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. We'll know when we see it. It was the final answer. Rocksteady 3.0 says stabilization, Betaflight, and iNav OSD support. They finally added support for the iNav character set. Hallelujah. This is how DJI does things. They'll just release it in the next product, and you can upgrade. F you. But they did it. Yay. 33.5 by 33.5 by 13 millimeters. How does that compare to an 03? 03 air unit dimensions. 32 by 30 by 14.5. So pretty close to the same dimensions. Pretty close to the same dimensions as an 03. A little larger and a little thinner. 31 grams weight. Little Doesn't say whether that's with or without. It's got to be without the camera, I would think. So a little heavier. Not that much heavier. And then, holy crap, this is where DJI really just kicked me in the nuts. I would have lost almost any amount of money betting on whether DJI would release a 1S video transmitter. I mean, I'm not really a betting person, so I wouldn't have taken your bet. But really, I would have lost almost any amount of money that DJI would never release a 1S video transmitter. So,
so I think there's two worlds here, right? One is
Yeah.
that this is just a rumor and it's not going to be quite 1S, right? The other one is that are they they're either competing with Walksnail, like we said, right? So this is going to be literally 1S usable, like we expect. But there's also a world where this is going to cut out at 3.5, right, or something. That's what
sure.
I'm concerned about.
Sure, we don't know. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it needs to work down to 2.8 volts to really be usable for 1S. You know, I think that's the kind of thing DJI wouldn't get wrong. I bet if they say 1S voltage, it'll be good down to 3.0. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I wouldn't bet on that. But that they went after this market segment at all shocks me. And I think, like you're saying, Blunty, they're going these are direct shots at Walksnail. They see Walksnail as a competitor, or they wouldn't have acknowledged their existence, and they wouldn't be chasing their feature set. We know that perhaps a year, maybe 2 years ago, somewhere in the last 2 years, a whole bunch of Walksnail bind and flies just disappeared from the market. And some vendors said that DJI had incentivized them not to carry Walksnail bind and flies. None of that was ever sort of proven, but the story that sort of seemed to take shape was that DJI saw Walksnail as enough of a threat that they were telling stores, look, if you don't carry Walksnail, maybe we'll give you, I don't know, better pricing, or it was a little, I don't know if it was a carrot or a stick, but there used to be a bunch of Walksnail bind and flies, and then suddenly there weren't any, or hardly any. And we heard these rumors that DJI had made that happen. And now we see DJI releasing these products, which are just a direct shot across the bow of Walksnail with the race mode and with the 1S VTX. And the performance of these, obviously we haven't seen the real hardware, but the specs and DJI's reputation, this is going to just absolutely murder the Walksnail 1S VTX. Single board PCB, less than 10 grams of weight. If the voltage truly goes down to 3.0 volts or maybe a little lower, legit. 60 meg 1080p. 20 millisecond latency in race mode, onboard DVR, no SD card, 26 gig. Just the specs here are bananas.
Also, another place said 4K 30 on the recording for that. So I don't know if that'll be accurate or not. But I mean, there's a world where you could use this light to record. I mean, we'll see what the camera looks like, right? But to record, it's going to have rock steady. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that 26 gig onboard DVR on less than 10 gram VTX is insane. Yeah. Insane. And
and again, this is speculation because no one's seen the hardware, but you know that the actual image quality and performance is going to just crush Walksnail. I mean, especially the 1S, what is the Walksnail 1S VTX? It goes up to 30 dBm. 30 dBm, 1 watt. Yeah, 1 watt.
Well, yeah. I'll just remind people that
400 milliwatts.
DJI
Sheesh.
technically does that thing where they stack on the...
So does Walksnail. Pretty sure.
Okay.
Isn't that what Chris Rosser found?
I can't remember the name of that. Okay.
Yeah,
maybe that's
the antenna.
I can't remember the...
Yeah. Yeah, the EIRP.
There you go, EIRP.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Chris Rosser found Walksnail did the same thing, although somebody could tell me otherwise. I think they both do that.
Yeah.
So when
EIRP...
Yeah.
Sorry, EIRP is essentially you have to include it because it's really what you're getting. Because it's different with OFDM or whatever, the way they do the signals. You have to include it because I think you're transmitting two different things or you're stacking them or something about it causes you to do that. But you have to add the antenna gain into it. It's called EIRP. So it's not technically like you're outputting that power, but you end up outputting that effective power.
Well,
or something similar to that, right?
the antenna focuses the signal, right? So you have 1 watt coming out of the radio, and that goes into the antenna, and the antenna focuses the signal. And the idea is that at the strongest point of the antenna's focus, how much additional gain have you gotten by focusing the signal? And antenna gain is a little different because when I raise the output power of the radio, that energy goes out the antenna in all directions, but then the antenna shapes that and focuses it, and so we get gain in one direction at the expense of gain in another direction. So an omnidirectional antenna focuses the signal down into a disc or a toroid, like a donut, and it's a smaller and flatter and wider disc. Right, so we have less signal directly above and below, more signal out to the sides. That's an omni antenna. And the amount of that focusing is the antenna gain. EIRP is the amount of power you're radiating, including your antenna gain. And DJI uses that. The analog video transmitters typically do not include the antenna gain when they report their output power. It's output from the radio itself. So when analog VTX says it's doing 1 watt, that's 1 watt from the radio into a 3 dB antenna, which would be 2 watts. But the analog VTX just says 1 watt. DJI would say 2 watts under that exact same situation. And I think Walksnail does the same thing. The digital VTXs report EIRP, is my understanding. Anyway. Just amazing stuff, and I can't wait to see it. The other thing I think the DJI 1S VTX will beat Walksnail in is the Walksnail 1S VTX has durability issues. Like, I'm not like going to overplay how bad they are, but it could be more durable. Let's put it that way. And the DJI 1S VTX will not have durability issues because DJI don't play that game. It will be as bulletproof as DJI stuff always is, and that alone is going to potentially sway some people. So, whoo! Baller move. DJI is so good at this game, and I'm so glad I don't have to compete with them. I will say, though, Walksnail's no dummies. Walksnail is rumored to be releasing, rumored. I think it's pretty much confirmed, to be releasing a repeater. A signal repeater. Whoa. Talk about, hit the enemy where he's weak, right? DJI not going to release a repeater. I don't know, maybe they will. But that's baller. Anyway. There we go. Thanks to Madstech for these rumors, and for other people for releasing them.